Christian, can you turn it down? Okay. So, where do we begin? Where do we begin? So, the first exercise is asking simple questions to figure out where you stand. And the reason why I chose this topic is because so many people have been through so much that it's very difficult for them to love each other, to love themselves, sorry, and it makes it very difficult for them to be in relationships. And this causes them to be in a position where there's no trust. And I don't think this is by accident. I think that this is by design. I think it's by design that more and more people are filled with hate. And they're filled with hate because they're being programmed to hate. And it's not because it's the way things should be. I strongly believe that people are being programmed to hate. And as a result, relationships suffer, families suffer, businesses suffer, communities suffer, all areas of life suffer because people are not allowed to love themselves. And therefore, if a person does not love themselves, they cannot love anyone else. A person cannot say that they love someone and hate themselves. For example, like, we tend to hear that, two people get together and they become one. And I don't agree with that philosophy. I believe that a person must be whole first before they engage with someone else. Because, the concept is two people getting together and becoming one. No, I think a person should be whole first, have a clear understanding of who they are, having dealt with their past, reconciled with their past, made peace with the things in their past, and then able to move on to higher ground in relationships, whether it's personal relationships, whether it's business relationships, whether it's family-oriented relationships, whatever kind of relationship. And they cannot do that without some sort of soul searching and self-analyzing. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and I want people to think about these questions before they react, because we're trained in this society to react to things that may cause us discomfort, as opposed to reflect on things that cause us discomfort. Okay, now my first question is, it has to do with your body, because you tend to find that most people, most women actually, most people self-love or self-hate, the basis of it is somehow the way they look, because someone somewhere told them the way they looked was not appropriate, right? So my first question is, are there any parts of your body, or is there a part of your body that you hate? Why is this question important? We are bombarded every single day with images that does not reflect the average person. And it may not reflect a lot of the people on this planet. And one thing in particular that is destroying humanity is some sort of body dysmorphia, some sort of image of their body, whether it's their color, whether it's their facial features, whether it's their hair, their build, their physique, their shape. Some part of this, the root of self-hate, comes from not being comfortable in the body that you're born in. So my first question is there a part of your body that you hate? And I chose the word hate as opposed to dislike, because some say the opposite of love is hate, and some say the opposite of love is indifference. Love is a polarizing word. And I think indifference, for me, indifference is in the middle. Okay. So you have love, you have indifference where you're just like, I don't care, and then there's hate. So I think, for me personally, I think the opposite of love is hate. So, and the reason why I chose this word hate is because love conjures specific emotions, specific states of being, specific actions. Whereas indifference, if the opposite of love is indifference, the only thing that indifference conjures up is an attitude of I don't care. Hate, which is the polar opposite, I think, for me personally, hate, which is the polar opposite of love, conjures up specific emotions, specific states, states of mind, states of being, and specific actions, right? And I think that indifference cannot be the opposite, because love is an action-oriented word, so is hate. Indifference, you don't have to have actions. Indifference is, for me, is in the middle, because you don't have to act upon what you like or what you dislike, right? So my first question is, are there any parts of your body that you hate? Because the root cause of self-hatred, 9 times out of 10, stems from hatred of some part of your body, whether it could be a physical body, it could be a spiritual body, it could be your mental body, or your mind. So think about this for a second. Is there a part of your body that you hate? Here's my second question. Now that you've reflected on that question, this is my second question. Who or what caused you to hate yourself? What caused you to hate your body, to hate yourself? It can be a person, because a lot of times, especially for women, it's a person, it's people. Someone says, oh, oh, I can't stand her hair, or she's ugly, or he's ugly, or she's too black, or oh my God, she's too white, or the hair's too curly, or oh my God, you have big feet. Oh my God, I don't like your teeth. Oh my God, your nose is too big. Oh my God, your nose is too small. Oh my God, your lips are so small. Oh my God, you're so white. Oh my God, you're so dark. Oh my God, you're too muscular. Oh my God, you're too fat. Oh my God, you're stupid. Oh my God, you're smart. You're too smart. Because, intelligent people get it the same as so-called stupid people, right? Or what? So this first exercise is to get to the root of self-hate. Who or what caused you to hate yourself or to hate your body? And think about that for a second. Is it a person? Who was this person? Did something happen that caused you to hate your body or to hate yourself? If it's a person, are you still around this person? Was this person there in the beginning stages of your life? Has this person assisted you in some way? Is this person a generation of, comes from a generation of self-hate? Because self-hate is generational, right? Okay. The third question goes even deeper into the self-hate and the body dysmorphia. How did that make you feel? Or how did they make you feel? Now, this would allow some people to go into regression. They're going to have to go back, because sometimes the self-hate, if it's a direct self-hate, they would probably have to go as far back as their childhood. If it's a generational self-hate, which is highly possible, and it's become a cultural norm, then it would take a much longer time of regression. For example, let's see. For example, a person can develop self-hate because of their color, because they're dark, right? So this may be a generational self-hate that's been perpetuated generation after generation after generation, and it's never been dealt with. So a person who may be very light or very dark have this self-hate within themselves, and they may not know where it's coming from. So we have to regress and go back. Is it a cultural thing that occurred? Or is it a childhood thing that occurred? Or did it happen at some later time in life, right? My question is, how did that, or how did they make you feel? And I want you to think about the emotion, because hate comes with a state of being. Think about the emotion, and this might be a little bit traumatic for some. Some may not even be able to go there. It may be too intense for some people. But sometimes, if you go to a surgeon, okay, and there's something internally wrong with you, the surgeon is not going to give you topical cream and tell you, poof, just rub this cream on and poof, it's gone. No. What does the surgeon do? The surgeon has to open the top layer of the skin, part the tissue, get down into the wherever the abscess is, and try to get it out, right? So what are we doing here? We're dealing with, first, self-hate. And in order to deal with self-hate, we have to open the top layer of skin, part the tissue, and get the abscess out, right? How did that make you feel? It's okay to feel weak. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to let it out. Okay, safely, because there are laws, okay, in this physical realm that we live in. There are laws, okay? But there's no law against you punching a punching bag, or doing a spiritual exercise where you curse it out, okay? You curse it out. What does that mean? When these feelings arise, you have to vent, okay? When you have feelings, we are trained in society. We have lost so much of what it means to be a human, that we're not allowed to express negative emotions. We're trained to think that a person must always be in control of every single thing in their life, and we're not allowed to be angry ever, 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 because angry is a negative emotion. But what tends to happen is that pent-up anger not being released through the proper channels. And I don't mean laughing and dancing and running around and singing hallelujah. No, I mean getting the bile out of your system, right? Negative emotions such as anger, such as hate, such as vindictiveness, these negative emotions need a channel in which to be released. And one of the best ways for these things to be released is to curse it out from your gut. You don't have to use profanity, right? But from your gut, you envision who or whatever it is standing in front of you. You face it. And when the negative emotions rise in your stomach, because it comes from your gut, most illnesses, I think, are from the gut, right? Because we store it's not necessarily the heart where most illnesses lie. Science came out and it said to us, this is what scientific research said. They were doing, they were researching, autism. And they were researching Alzheimer's, and they were researching a lot of diseases. And do you know what science said? They were They were astounded because they found out that most illnesses reside in the gut. And it's ironic because whenever we have these polar opposite feelings, love versus hate, where do those feelings manifest? Oh my God, when it's love, I have butterflies in my stomach every time I see this person, right? Or this person makes me sick to my gut. The stomach. So you have to think about it. When these negative feelings arise, because we tend to release the good feelings and suppress, we've been taught, suppress the negative feelings in our gut. So my question to you is, how did they make you feel? Or how did that make you feel? And you're going to feel it in your gut. It's going to be in your stomach. So we're going to do some purging today. We're going to do some spiritual purgings today. Okay? Now, what I want you to do is when you feel those emotions in your gut, in your stomach, the negative emotions, the hatred, the abuse, the attack, I want you to take time now, envision whoever is in front of you, what was done to you, and everything you feel inside, when that feeling rises up inside of you, I want you to take control of it. I want you to flow with it, and I want you to release it. I want you to do it now. Face that emotion that rises up inside of you. Face it head on and release it. Say whatever you want to say, however you want to say it. This is between you and your spirit. Because why? That hatred is holding on to your identity. That negative emotion in your gut, emotions in your gut, is attaching itself to your identity. You cannot be free to have a correct self-image about yourself. Hold on one second. Thank you. Okay, so now that you had time to release, we had a little intermission there. Now that you have time to release, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to release it, because that negativity, that hatred, okay, that negative emotion, it latches itself on to every part of your being, and that includes your identity. Okay, that includes your relationship. You cannot tell me that you hate any group of people, any human, except there are exceptions. Humans who are just evil beings. That's a whole other topic. We're just talking about people that made a mistake. And well, anyway, we're talking about humans here. Let's not go into semantics, right? But you cannot tell me that you hate any group of people and love yourself. It doesn't happen like that. You cannot tell me that you are so filled with hate at people who never did anything to you and love yourself. I don't care how many times you try to convince me that you love yourself and hate people. Okay? Now, I'm not saying that you don't hate the people that did this to you. That's different. But to level your hate at everyone, including people who never hurt you or never harmed you, and then tell me you love yourself, there is something wrong. There is something seriously wrong. You cannot hate people and love yourself. In order to love people, you have to love yourself. And you cannot love yourself and hate people. Okay? So now that we dealt with that third exercise, here's a question I want you to think about. If it was a person, if this person caused you to have some sort of body dysmorphia, okay, where you hate yourself and you have a negative self-image, was that person the epitome of perfection? For example, young women and young men, like kids, kids in high school and stuff like that are being bullied because of the way they look. The person bullying you, are they the epitome of perfection? Are they perfect? Now here's my question. If they are perfect, why are they a bully? Is bullying perfection? Is bad behavior perfection? So the person who's causing you, so this may actually impact someone who is on the verge of committing suicide. I want you to think. If you're being bullied, okay, I want you to think for a second. If you're being bullied, is the bully perfect? If someone is shaming you because of how you look, if someone is trying to shame you by imposing upon you an image that you were not created with, I want you to take a step back. I want you to look at this person and I want you to tell me, is that person the epitome of perfection? Why do I say this? Because self-hate, one of the root causes of self-hate is that the person ends up with a skewed view of reality. They have a reality that is not true. For example, a kid being bullied because of, let's say you're studious, and I'm not going to call you a nerd, I'm going to call you studious. Let's say you're studious, you love books, you love to read, you love to learn. There is nothing wrong with that, right? And here comes, some guy at school and they bully you because you're studious. My question is, the person who's bullying you, is that person the epitome of perfection? Let's say a young girl in high school who's being bullied because she's not a part of the in crowd. Are those girls perfect? Here's my question. If they were perfect, would they be bullies? If they're trying to impose upon you an image of perfection and they claim that you are not perfect, why are they doing it in such a nasty way? You see how images can be distorted? So someone who believes that they're perfect acts nasty towards you, who's done nothing wrong to them, to get you to hate yourself. Is the person doing the abuse, are they perfect? And if they're perfect, why are they abusing? See, these are the roots. I'm dealing with the root of the tree, what's under the soil. So the person who's bullying you, are they perfect? And if they are perfect, why are they resorting to nasty behavior to accomplish what they want to accomplish? And why is it that they are attacking a defenseless person in order to accomplish their mission? You see, it's called projection. Okay, and what projection does is that it allows the abuser to impose upon someone they think is weaker a negative image. Now it's up to you now to be able to correctly see it for what it is. a negative image that you don't want. Huh? Okay. So now, if you've been impacted by self-hate, before we go into self-love and loving ourselves, we're going to deal with self-hate, because you can't teach people how to love and they're filled with self-hate. Can you define what it is that makes this person perfect? Oh my God. And I can hear all the young girls in high school like, well, she's like cute and she has like really nice hair and everyone knows who she is. Okay, but if she's perfect, why is she nasty? If she's perfect, why is she nasty? Nasty behavior is not perfection. If he's the epitome of perfection, why is he nasty? Nasty behavior is not perfection. Nasty behavior is ugliness. And what they want is they want you to believe you're ugly because they're ugly. You're ugly, it's because they're ugly. And they don't want to be seen for the ugly, their inner person. They don't want to be seen for the ugly person that they are. So they project it on you because you're an easy target to them. Okay, so I want you to define what makes them perfect. Now you're going to tell me a whole bunch of stuff that is physical, right? Okay. After you've defined what makes them perfect, how does their perfection compare to your perceived faults? Okay, so you would say, oh my God, this person has blonde hair and blue eyes, or long dark hair and beautiful skin, or whatever. And your faults may be, okay, I have big ears or whatever. I don't know, I don't really have big ears, but I'm saying, okay, well, they bully me because I have big ears. But again, if they're perfect, why are they nasty? Why are they nasty? Okay, because abuse always lies. One of the things about abuse and one of the things about self-hate is that someone imposes a belief that's not true onto a person they think, they believe is inferior or weaker, or a victim or an easy target. Okay, and what tends to happen is that the person gets, their spirit, their body gets worn down so much that they begin to believe the lies. So this is why I'm bringing you back to self-realization, which is, if they are perfect, why is their behavior nasty? If this person is perfect, why is their behavior nasty? Nasty behavior is not perfection. I don't care what you say. I don't care how you try to sugarcoat it. Let me tell you something. When I used to model, right? I used to listen to my friends and their boyfriends and, these rich, guys or whatever, and my friend. And one of the things I used to hear all the time, there were two dissenting opinions, right? One was, why is it that these rich guys, like I would hear from the girls, oh my God, these rich guys, they always marry these bland women. They're not like too attractive, very simple looking, they're not gorgeous, but they would date these extremely gorgeous supermodel type women, and I used to think about that question all the time, right? Then I encountered some of the women and I realized why. Imagine this. Imagine you're a guy, you're rich, or you're whatever, you're middle class or whatever, you're working, right? Okay. Woman makes you look good. Okay. A beautiful woman is like a fine wine, right? Okay. Let's put it like that. She's a fine wine, or she's, in today's society, she's an expensive bag. I don't know, or a fancy car, whatever, right? She's a beautiful accessory, right? But imagine if you have to spend your days working and having to deal with complex issues and coming back to your fine wine that acts like stale cheese. Imagine having, actually the stale cheese for the French might, okay. Americans don't like stale cheese. The French might like it, but next. Right? So imagine you're having to work and you're toiling and you're this and you have to come home and your fine wine acts like stale cheese. And it dawned on me, there's a reason why these very powerful men marry simple women. They don't want the damn headache. They don't want the headache. Okay? When your wine is acting like some goat cheese in the desert with no air conditioning and no refrigerator, you might opt for a simple wine from the supermarket. You know what I mean? So this is something that bedazzles me. So what's the point I'm trying to make? The point I'm trying to make, excuse me, is that you receiving all this hatred is not, you're not able to see clearly what is being sent towards you. Right? So you begin to develop a negative image, a negative self-image that causes you to have these underlying issues about the way you look. And I know, I get it. Listen, I'll tell you a story. I went to this church, right? And I met this girl there, a pretty attractive girl, but she was kind of, anyway, she said to me, she's like, I don't go to church anymore. I'm not a Christian. I don't get involved with a religion at all. I love everyone. As long as they're respectful and they love me, I'm cool with you. Right? I don't care what your religion is. I don't care if you have no religion, because I realize that most people who are not religious, the not religious people tend to be the most loving people on the planet. Anyway, so I met I met this girl, and she said to me, she was like, listen, be very careful. And I was like, why? She said, these women in here, just in this particular place, she said, these women in here are vicious. And I was going to make a point and I forgot my point. Anyway, I'll come back to that when I remember it, right? So the point is, how does this compare to your perceived faults, right? So you compare their supposed perfection that they want to impose upon you, okay, and destroy you because of your perceived faults. But my question is, if they're perfect, why are they nasty? A man is not going to marry a 1958 Bordeaux that acts like stale cheese. Okay. Here's my other question. Now, self-hatred. I've observed that self-hatred, sometimes the strongest strongholds of self-hatred is when it's close to home. So my next question to you is, was this person a family member or someone close to the family? Because most people, their identity comes from their family and their close-knit, the family, their friends, and their close-knit communities. And a lot of times, their hurt and their body dysmorphia comes from their family, their friends, or their close-knit community. So was it a family member? And there's no betrayal, like betrayal from family, right? Or close friends, or someone in the community that's, that's close to your family, right? So we look at this. Was this a close family member or a friend or someone in your close-knit community? Why? Because these bonds are the strongest, okay? And why do I ask this question? I ask this question because it is very difficult. And it will be difficult for anyone dealing with self-hate to begin to love themselves if they cannot come to terms with the fact that if a person in your family is degrading you, you have to let them go. And even, let's say hypothetically, that you're in a family relationship and the person, and you live with the person, or you're married to the person, it's difficult to let them go. My dear, you can let them go in spirit. Okay? And we'll teach you how to do that. So why is this question important? This question is important because family bonds are the strongest. And family bondage, okay, bondage that gets passed down from family member to family member is the hardest to break. And in order for a person, to go from self-hate to self-love, if it's a family member that did the trespassing, sometimes what you end up with is this dichotomous relationship, where it's a struggle for the person to let go. They rather hold on to the self-hate than let go of their family member. And this is what you encounter a lot of the time. They rather be married to their distorted self-hating image than to let go of the person that's degrading them. And that's a very tough call to make. But self-hatred can destroy you. Okay, it's very rare that self-hatred can cause a person to rise up above the expectation, above that glass ceiling that people set for them. Okay, so it's imperative for you to go back into your past and examine, did this self-hatred start with family, friends, or someone close to the family, like in your community? And when you come to terms with that answer, okay, again, emotions will rise. Are you willing to self-love, which is kiss them goodbye? Or are you willing to love the hate, to love the self-hate and keep them? Now, this is a crossroads. You're at a fork in the road. I didn't say this was going to be easy. You're at a fork in the road. Do you want to self-love and self-heal? Or do you want to self-hate and keep this person? And that's a very difficult call. But it's very rare for self-hate to drive a person to success. It's very rare. Self-hate is something that is all-encompassing. It will cause you, first of all, whoever puts the self-hate on you puts a glass ceiling on you. And you will never, ever, ever go above that glass ceiling they set for you as long as you hold on to self-hate. Self-hate is a glass ceiling that they impose upon you so that you would never be able to self-actualize, which is grow into who you really are and who you're supposed to be, right? So you have to determine, do I want to live in this self-hate and keep this family member, keep this friend, keep this community member, or do I want to self-love? Because you cannot self-love and have the haters around you. It doesn't work like that. Something's gonna give. And let me tell you something about people who hate. Oh, when they see you loving yourself, baby, oh my God. If you thought they were miserable before, when they thought they had you in a self-hating chokehold, when they thought they were strangling you in a self-hating stronghold, they were like, and they were like, I got you now. You will never grow. You will never be anything. You're never going anywhere. You're black and ugly. You're white and ugly. You're stupid. You're crazy. You're this and that. And they're just putting ceilings above you. When you wake up and you're like, whoa, and you begin to recognize this thing, wait, you are not the embodiment of perfection. Hating on me, you're not perfect. And you begin to wake up and you realize that person has to direct their hate somewhere. And if you're not the victim for them to direct the hate, they have to find someone to direct the hate. So beginning self-love is not an easy process, because the person who's been feeding off of you all these years, hating yourself and walking around with the wrong image of yourself, who's been feeding off of your failures, who's been feeding off of your weakness, who's been feeding off of your blindness, when you're not their lunch, they're like, whoa, I had you for lunch for how many years? And now you're going to get up and start loving yourself? That demon has to go somewhere. So we'll get to that in another session. How to deal with self-directing, self-hating demons when you tell them disappear. Right? So, but understand what I'm trying to say to you is this. If it's someone close to you, family member, friend, lover, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, someone close to you, and you wake up and you realize, whoa, whoa, I've been mesmerized. I'm under a hex. There's nothing wrong with me. I can live my life. I was given this life. I can live my life and I deserve to enjoy my life. That person is not going to want their free lunch to disappear. We'll get to dealing with them in another session, right? But the goal here is self-actualization and overcoming self-hate. Okay. My other question to you is, where is that person now in your life? Where's that person now? I mean, physically, spiritually. Has this person evolved? Are they still berating you? Are they still degrading you? What kind of job do they have? Okay, because it's really ironic when someone is directing hate at you. And let's say you're a person, you're trying, and someone is directing all this hate at you and doesn't even give you a break for trying, and they never even tried anything in their life. They never even tried to fail in their life. At least you're trying. So this is what I want you to do with this exercise. I want you to see how self-hate operates. It operates from a negative, distorted perspective. And the goal is to distort the way you see and to distort the way you think in order to set ceilings on you so that you can never succeed. But today we're going to deal with that, right? Good. Okay. Where are you compared to them in your life? Even if you don't have the best job and they have a better job, even if you don't have your own home and they have a home, and this and that and that, where are you in your life? The fact that you're listening to me today, the fact that you've made it this far into this video, tells me that you want change. And today, we're going to get change. Right? So where are you in your life? And where do you want to be in your life? I want you to go back for a second. Every child had a vision of who they were going to be when they were a child. And then life happens. Do you still want to be that? As long as it's legal. Do you still want to be that? What's stopping you from being that? You from accomplishing that? What's stopping you from starting that? Where are you in your life today? The other exercise I want you to think about is I want you to examine everything around you and everyone around you that is feeding into and feeding off of your negative identity, your negative perception, and your self-hate. If it's a magazine, go on a diet for magazines for a while. Because magazines are going to have the most glamorous women, airbrushed with the best skin, best makeup, best legs, best body, best everything. And if that is only fueling your self-hate, diet. If it's television, and that television is only telling you you're sick, you're ill, you're stupid, you're no good, you'll never amount to anything, you'll never go anywhere, you're useless, you're too dark, you're too light, your hair is too blonde, your hair is too dark, your eyes are too big, your nose is too big, you don't fit in, you're not smart enough, you're too stupid, you're too smart. If it's television, get rid of it. If it's the internet, get rid of it. Anything that's in your control that is affecting, now we're going to start doing some purgings here. anything in your remote area that you have control over that is feeding into your self-hate or feeding off of your self-hate, food, medication, is it sex? Because it could be sex, because some people will hate themselves so much, they'll be like, they'll just procreate with anything or anyone, right? Whatever is feeding into or off of your self-hate. Didn't say it was going to be easy. You're going to have to budget. And you're going to have to go on a 6-month purge to get it out of your psyche until you get the correct image of yourself. If it's a school, take corrective action. If you're in high school, if you're in junior high school, and it's people that's causing it, you have to take corrective action. The school has to take corrective action, or you may have to transfer out. You have to take corrective action. If it's a culture, that is extremely difficult. But there are ways in which you can change culture. I am not talking about Islamic culture, but let's say you live in a culture where fair skin is the standard of beauty. You can take baby steps in promoting dark skin. Let's say you live in a culture where dark skin is the standard of beauty and you're fair skin. You can take baby steps in promoting light skin. I'm not talking about Islamic cultures, because that is a nut I can crack. Right? So let's say that it's a cultural thing. Now that's extremely difficult, because changing cultural norms in places that's not the West usually results in a death sentence, right? So, but you can take baby steps in correcting perceived norms. For example, let's say you live in a culture, let's go back to the dark skin, light skin paradigm. Let's say you live in a culture where it's always light skin is the standard of beauty and the only one you should marry. Why not start writing and start speaking that positive things about dark skin and showing examples of dark skinned people who are not the stereotype that they feed into that causes self-hate. So you can begin to take corrective actions, right? Okay. So the next question is, now that you've surveilled your environment and you figured out the who's, the what's, when's, why's, and where's, and you've come to an understanding, you're beginning to understand your body, and you're beginning to understand that, you know, what's in your gut holds on to your identity. What's in your gut, it holds on to your identity, and people use these things to place glass ceilings over you so that they can keep you subjected. Now we've come to terms with that. Now we're going to go in a little bit deeper. Does your life encompass these faults? Does your life encompass these faults? Because what we tend to have, we see so many young people committing suicide because of bullying, because of someone doing something stupid that caused the person who's been bullied so much to just say, I can't take it anymore, I want to die, right? Is this perceived fault from a person with nasty behavior, is it enveloping your life? Is it consuming your life? If it's consuming your life, that all you think about this day and night, if this is consuming your life, stop here. You have to get professional help. Because I'm not a professional, but the reason why I can talk about it is because I've been through it. I've had my share of nasties, okay? And I've learned how to deal with nasties. Okay? So if it's encompassing your life, like you wake up thinking about it, you go to bed thinking about it, it's destroying, it's literally changing the way your brain thinks. You think about is, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, and you don't see anything else but this prevailing so-called fault that this nasty person is projecting upon you. This person with nasty behavior is projecting upon you, and it's encompassing your life. You have to take corrective action right now. And the reason why I say that is because if it's beginning to consume you and you don't take corrective action right now, and you feel yourself becoming weak and this negative force is taking over you, what we don't want happen is we don't want you to act out violently, and we don't want you to harm yourself because of someone who has nasty behavior, sees themselves to be the epitome of perfection, and therefore imposing upon you behavior. And nasty behavior could never be a person who's perfect. Never. Nasty behavior comes from a nasty soul, and I don't care what houses that soul, but what's inside of that house is nasty. And that person needs some internal makeup to beautify what is intrinsically ugly. Okay, so if this is beginning to consume you, you have to take corrective action. Okay, if this is beginning to consume you, like this fall, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, my nose is too big, my nose is too big, my nose is too big, and you come to the point that you feel like that the only thing you think about morning, noon, and night is this perceived fault. You have to take corrective action and get intervention. There must be intervention. And the intervention cannot be your family, because your family is just going to tell you, when they love you, just going to tell you you're perfect. No, you need a complete stranger coming in and correcting. You need a complete stranger who is unbiased coming in and correcting these negative perceptions. Okay? Okay. Now, exercise 1. For those of you who's made it this far, right? It's pretty intense, right? Okay. Exercise 1. Now we begin, now that we've dug up all the skeletons in our closet, we're like, probably makeup is everywhere. Some of us are just like, oh my God, this lady's crazy, right? Exercise number 1. This is the foundation of self-love. We have to renounce self-hate. We have to renounce, we have to say, look, I am not that identity. I am not. Let me tell you an interesting thing. Do you know the most confident women in the world are not the tall, skinny, gorgeous women? The most confident women in the world are Black women. The most confident. Not the skinny ones, full figured, like a Botero, like the sculptor Botero. The most beautiful, confident women in the world are the big Black women. Nobody could tell them. No one could tell a big Black woman she is not gorgeous, because she'd be like, listen, child, please, I look good. No one. It is the most amazing thing to see. I remember when I was a kid, right? I was growing up in the Caribbean. I was born in the Caribbean, and I was going to school in the Caribbean, in Trinidad, right? And I had this teacher, Miss Henry. And this woman, she was darker than me, and she had this really curly hair, and she was big. I mean, and she was big, like big, like a Botero, voluptuous, big, This woman dressed up. She walked down the street. Just this no, I mean, I don't care how gorgeous you were. No one could compare to that woman. One had a walk. I mean, and she was She had a walk. She had la negra tiene tumbao, as they say, as they say in Spanish, right? She had this walk, and when she walked down the street, I don't care who was walking down the street, everyone stopped to watch this woman. The most confident woman. Observe that. The most confident women are not the skinny, tall, supermodel looking chicks. Sandwich. It's the big women. And I don't say black derogatory in a derogatory fashion. I mean, it's big black women. It's the big black women. I mean, I'm surprised they haven't like really killed it in the fashion scene for big black women, because whatever. The most confident women. Nobody and their mother could tell them they don't look good. And if you try to tell them they don't look good. So exercise number 1. So we're switching paradigms. So now that we dealt with dealing with self-hate, we're going to start now with self-love. Exercise. Because the root of self-hate, finding fault that they think is superior at, want you to feel inferior. Sorry. They want you to feel inferior. Let me take this phone off, darling. Okay, so they want you to feel inferior, right? So we start with self-hate starts with some perceived fault. So therefore, the foundation of self-love must start with some perceived fault. Exercise number 1. I'm not. My existence exist because of some perceived fault. Crime, because some crimes, I said fault. Crimes, they come with some heavy penalties. Something they have to, I'm saying fault, okay? Of self-love is putting things in its respective order. First of all, even true faults that they're levying on people are not necessarily true, because some people just have nasty dispositions, right? But let's say, it's some fault, I have big hands, big feet, big nose, big eyes, I don't know, whatever. You are not your perceived, your hair. You are not your fault. Existence. You were not created to exist based upon some perceived fault. Self-love is correcting that negative image that is trying to be imposed upon you. It's either negative image or blatant lie that's trying to be imposed upon you to see the entire world not as you as a being with a mind, body, and soul, but a fault whose entire existence is my existence is my large nose. I live and breathe because of my nose. I eat and sleep because of my nose. I drink because of my nose. I study because of my nose. And this is literally what happens. Because of the abuse and the nasty behavior, people begin to see themselves and their existence through this perceived fault or lie or abuse. And then they begin to live out life, not as a complex being, but as a fault that was placed in this world as a fault, that was placed in this world to exist as a fault or as a mistake. No, we're going to correct that. We're going to lay the first foundation of self-love. I am not my perceived fault. I am not a mistake. As a matter of fact, it is not a fault. And I am a complex being whose existence is not dependent upon your perception of a fault. So the foundation of self-love is, I am not my fault. I am not a fault. And we must get this in the exact same place where they put the negative emotions. Not in your brain, not in your heart, but in your gut. In your gut. I am not my fault. My existence is not a fault. I am not a mistake, and I'm not your mistake. So that's the first one. The second thing is, you are perfect. Even if you're not perfect, it's none of their damn business. Even if you are not perfect, whatever perfection is, right? Remember I gave you the analogy of the powerful man marrying the simple looking woman. His 1958 Bordeaux to act like stale cheese, because he didn't want his 58 Bordeaux to act like stale cheese, right? I am perfect. I am perfect. Remember I gave you the analogy of the big woman, the most confident. I've seen this. I've hung around with models and I've hung around with average everyday women. Let me tell you something. The average everyday big black woman, you can tell them they don't look good. But when I hang around the models, oh my God, I'm too fat. Oh my God, my skin. Oh my God, I'm getting a stretch mark. Oh my God, I have a little puffy in my stomach. Oh my God. And when you're done, you're like, oh my goodness, I feel like I need to go see a surgeon. Seriously. Seriously. So the second foundation we're going to lay, and this is going to be difficult, I am perfect. Watch these devils literally manifest. I am perfect. Watch the haters go into they're going to manifest when they hear this. You're going to be like, oh my God, is this a human? Watch the haters manifest when you declare, I'm perfect. Even if you're not, I'm perfect. And I am not your perception of my fault. I am perfect. But when we say we're perfect, okay, we have to go a little bit deeper. Are there any corrective, healthy actions that you can take that can better the way you look and feel? If you are comfortable the way you are, do nothing as long as your health is intact. Okay, but if there is something that you need to work on, let's say you need to exercise, you don't have to exercise to be skinny. You just have to exercise to be healthy. Okay, because I've seen some crazy things in this life. I have seen some big women, bigger. They literally would sprint from here to there and not miss a beat and not have to bend over to catch their breath. And some skinny people that can't walk up a flight of stairs. So what corrective actions can you take to better your self-image that is healthy? Healthy corrective actions, okay? Okay, the third and most important thing about self-love is parameters. Parameters. What parameters can you set with image parasites and body vampires? What parameters? You cannot love yourself if you do not have solid parameters when you are around image parasites and body vampires. Who are image parasites? Image parasites are those people who go around thinking they are the perfection of humanity and have to tell everybody and their mother that they don't look good. Or body parasites who always smell something, see something, hear something, know something, taste something. What parameters can you set? Because you cannot self-love. You cannot begin the journey of self-love without parameters. You cannot begin the journey of self-love without parameters. What parameters can you set in order to begin your journey of self-love? And there are 3 parameters that I think you should have when you're writing down the parameters you set when you are beginning your journey on self-love. You need verbal parameters, because the body image parasites and the body vampires will attack you with words. So you need verbal parasites. And I don't mean tit for tat. I mean, when they levy one of their verbal parasitic diatribes, you have to be able to combat it in a way that uplifts you, and maintain the correct image of yourself while deflecting the verbal parasitic diatribe. Verbal parameters, physical parameters, okay, and spatial parameters. What's going on around you? Are you aware of what's going on around you? Because these parasites, okay, these parasites would try to, if they can't attack you verbally or physically, they will use spatial awareness, what's going on around you, to try to get to you. So these are 3 parameters that I think that you should focus on when you're dealing with image parasites and body vampires. Okay? Exercise 2. Brain training. This is the difficult part. Brain training. When a person is imposing upon you a negative identity, so that in order to set glass ceilings with which you can't break out of, to keep you subjugated, you have to have a strong mind. And you have to be able to deflect it with your brain. And you don't even have to speak in order to do it. You have to rewire, because if you've been under, let's say you've been under this for a very long time, because some people have been dealing with these issues for a very long time. And let's say you've been dealing with, and you're literally walking around in this image that is not you. You're literally living your entire existence in a whole wide, beautiful world in this negative image that someone who thinks they're perfect is imposing upon you. What tends to happen is that your brain begins to wire itself to believe the lies being told to you. And your brain begins to rewire itself, and your body follows suit. So what you have to do is you have to rewire your brain into self-loving you. Self-loving you. So you have to go into brain training. And one of the ways, and you have to do brain training that works for you. I can't tell you, you do this, and it's going to work, because I'm not you. I'm not going through what you're going through. I haven't been through what you've been through. You have to figure out what brain exercises works for you. And this is, I'm gonna pinpoint something. It's been systematically engineered for Black men in the United States to hate education. And by doing so, any young Black male who's studious is ostracized. Whereas in Caucasian culture, Asian culture, and other cultures, being studious is someone to look up to. But there's an engineering in the United States where Black males are ostracized for being studious. And one of the ways in which brain training can work is that when they tell you go left, you go right. When they tell you stand up, you sit down. When they tell you turn around, you spin in the other direction. When they tell you go clockwise, you go counterclockwise. Whatever they tell you to do that is negative, do the opposite. Brain training. Brain training. Brain training. Brain training. But you have to figure out what happened to you, because I don't know what happened to you. You have to figure out what happened to you, and you have to do your homework and figure out the correct type of brain training that you need. For example, someone telling you you never amount to anything. You're stupid. You have two choices. You either carry that negative, degrading, self-hating image and fulfill it, or you brain train yourself to do the opposite. You never amount to anything. Be a doctor. You never amount to anything. Be a lawyer. You never amount to anything. Be a teacher. You never amount to anything. Be a nurse. You're stupid. Be a physicist. You're an idiot. Be a mathematician. Whatever it is they tell you, along with the glass ceiling that they set above you, do the opposite. Brain training. The second active, proactive, self-loving exercise is spirit training. And this is the difficult part. And the reason why this is difficult is because you can't really see your spirit, right? But remember I told you before, you have to examine your environment and see what in your environment you're putting is feeding off of this negative image and is feeding into this negative image. You have to examine your environment and figure out what's doing that. And that's spirit training. You have to spiritually train yourself. Okay, you could do it actively, okay, but subconsciously, your spirit could be actively awake, but it's being done subconsciously. And it's training yourself to see your environment and what is in your environment that is causing you to walk around with a negative self-image of yourself, and reversing that by destroying the negative paradigms and imposing upon yourself the true spiritual image of yourself. Whatever that spiritual training is, it could be a religion. You could be Christian, you could be Muslim, you could be Buddhist, you could be Hindu, you could be whatever religion you want to be. But whatever negative self-hating image that's being imposed upon you, you have to train your spirit however you choose to do it. And it cannot be train your image, your spirit, to do what is positive and to be actively aware of what is taking place in your environment that is causing you to have the self-hate. And if it's self-hating, you must train your spirit to love you. And I'll tell you something about the self-love journey. The self-love journey can be a lonely road. You will never so much as see hatred as when you decide to mind your business and love yourself. When you decide to love yourself, you will never so much as see hatred like you've never seen before until you decide to follow the journey of self-love. And self-love is not narcissism. Narcissism is all-encompassing. I love me so much I must destroy you. No. Self-love is simply having a correct world view of who you are, your place in this world, your right to self-actualize, your right to be respected, your right for your parameters to be respected, your right to be loved, and your right to return love and receive love, your right to put forth something into the world that is positive and to receive from the world that is positive. Okay, if you give positivity, you are entitled to positivity. If you give love, you are entitled to love. If you give love, you are not entitled to receive hate. If you give goodness, you are entitled to receive goodness. If you give mercy, you are entitled to mercy. So whatever good you put into this world, you are entitled to it back. So let's see. And there's one more, but I've probably talked you to death. So those of you who are willing to go on this journey of self-love and self-discovery, join me and let me know what you think. Leave me a message. And if this has impacted you in any way, please send me an email at my email and let me know your feedback. Let me know your story and how this has impacted you in any way. Signing off. This is Renetta signing off, saying you have the right to love yourself and you have the right to be loved. Good night.